The Elephanta Caves are a set of Hindu rock-cut temples located on an island off the coast of Mumbai, India. Elephanta is reached by ferries departing from the famous Gate of India, which saw the departure of the last British troops from the subcontinent in 1948. It takes about 1.5 hours to reach the island from Mumbai Harbor. The name Elephanta comes from the Portuguese, who established an outpost there in the 16th century. The island's original name was Garapuri, meaning the City of Caves. Until no more than a few decades ago, the only access to these caves was by means of a steep, jungle-covered trail. Nowadays, a comfortable graded path leads up to the caves. Upon reaching the summit, a colonnade entrance leads into Cave 1, the largest of the Elephanta Caves. The rather unassuming entrance opens into a huge pillared hall of gigantic proportions, entirely hollowed out from the base of the mountain. This enormous cave was conceived as a Hindu temple dedicated to the god Shiva. The entire hall is supported by rows of huge monolithic columns, carved out of the solid basalt, which divide the space into 5 naves. The main sanctuary has 4 doors facing the cardinal directions, each flanked by huge guardian sculptures. Inside the sanctuary, opening to the sunrise on the spring equinox, is a polished black basalt Shiva lingam. It is, however, on the farthest wall, facing north, that one finds the masterpiece of the Elephanta Caves. This is a huge sculpture of the Trimurti, over 5 meters high, representing the 3 forms of God and the basic cosmic functions of creation, preservation, and destruction. These are beautifully represented in the form of 3 faces with feminine, masculine, and androgynous characteristics. More sculptural panels on the cave walls depict other scenes from Hindu mythology. Shiva bringing the Ganges river to earth. The androgynous Ardhanarishvara, with half the body of Shiva and half of Parvati, male and female. The wedding of Shiva and Parvati. Shiva as Yogishvara, the god of yoga, and Ravana shaking Mount Kailash. Continuing on the east side of the main hall, past an open-air courtyard, is another separate shrine. The shrine is entered by a colonnade porch with 4 columns and 2 pilasters. Beyond the porch opens a large hall decorated with sculptural panels and a central sanctuary. The sanctuary's doorway is flanked by light, whereas a narrow circumambulatory passage runs all around the sanctuary. On the walls of the circumambulatory passage, some curious signs can be seen, left by the chisels and tools with which the walls were carved. Leaving Cave 1 from the eastern shrine, one heads again east towards the next group of caves. Cave number 2 is a small unfinished excavation. The facade has been restored with 4 square pillars and 2 small cells in the back, lacking any kind of decoration. A little further east, one encounters cave number 3. This is a much larger cave, having a colonnade porch with 4 columns and 2 pilasters. The interior consists of a large rectangular room, on whose western side opens a raised chamber, which is entered through a portico with 4 columns. The main sanctuary is now empty and only preserves fragments of the original decoration. The next cave in this group is cave number 4. A large, although badly damaged excavation, most notable for its decorated doorway and linga shrine. Finally, cave number 5 appears to be another unfinished and rather crude excavation. Elephanta has suffered significantly from the ravages of time, with many priceless pieces of sculpture having been removed or destroyed over the centuries. Some of these are now on display at major museums around the world, including Mumbai's Prince of Wales Museum. Pieces like this beautiful Trimurti sculpture, or this relief fragment depicting Durga slaying the buffalo demon Mahisashura Mardini. We end this tour leaving you with the words of Helena Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, who visited Elephanta in 1883, accompanied by some of the earliest views of the Elephanta Caves prior to the 1970s restorations.
How many generations of Hindus, how many races have knelt in the dust before the Trimurti, your threefold deity? O Elephanta, how many centuries were spent by weak man in digging out in your stone bosom this town of temples and carving your gigantic idols? Who can say? Many years have elapsed since I saw you last, ancient, mysterious temple, and still the same restless thoughts, the same recurrent questions vex me now as they did then, and still remain unanswered. The secret fell into safe hands 3 centuries before ours. It is not in vain that the old Portuguese historian Don Diego de Cuta boasts that the big square stone fastened over the arch of the pagoda with a distinct inscription, having been torn out and sent as a present to the king Dom Juan III, disappeared mysteriously in the course of time. And adds further, close to this big pagoda there stood another, and farther on even a third one, the most wonderful of all in beauty, incredible size, and richness of material. All those pagodas and caves have been built by the kings of Kannada, the most important of whom was Banazur. And these buildings of Satan our Portuguese soldiers attacked with such vehemence that in a few years one stone was not left upon another. And worst of all, they left no inscriptions that might have given a clue to so much. Thanks to the fanaticism of Portuguese soldiers, the chronology of the Indian cave temples must remain forever an enigma to the archaeological world. Beginning with the Brahmins, who say Elephanta is 374,000 years old, and ending with Ferguson, who tries to prove that it was carved only in the 12th century of our era. Whenever one turns one's eye to history, there is nothing to be found but hypotheses and darkness. And yet Gadipuri is mentioned in the epic Mahabharata, which was written according to Colebrook and Wilson a good while before the reign of Cyrus. In another ancient legend, it is said that the temple of Trimurti was built on Elephanta by the sons of Pandu, who took part in the war between the dynasties of the sun and the moon, and belonging to the latter were expelled at the end of the war. The Rajputs, who are the descendants of the first, still sing of this victory, but even in their popular songs, there is nothing positive. Centuries have passed and will pass, and the ancient secret will die in the rocky bosom of the cave, still unrecorded.